HankCo presents Everybody Comes to Hank's.
This is Gary Butterfield.
This is Cole Ross.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, I got gams going from here to the end of the episode. Gams.
Noir boy.
Oh, I love this episode.
It's a new character, Noir boy.
It's my new character. Just mostly speaks in honks. Could be played by a duck or an especially placid goose.
Or the shopkeeper from Monster Train.
Oh,
Yeah, we're talking about the big Noir episode.
We are. Everybody Comes to Hank's, a reference to the play that Casablanca was based on. Everybody Comes to Rick's.
Yeah. But instead it's Hank.
Mm-hmm.
This one was written by Doc Hammer, originally aired October 3rd, 2019. And this is a big lore episode.
It is.
Not just a big gimmick episode.
Yeah. Things happen here. And I really enjoy it, particularly because this is a strange structure for an episode as well. It's not just kind of built around a visual and stylistic gimmick, but it is all a plot. This is entirely focused on Hank trying to learn the truth of who Dermot's dad is, and he learns it. It's just it's not anything acceptable, let's say.
There's a couple little nitpicks I have with this one, in terms of that stuff, and we'll get to it.
Yeah.
And like every Doc Hammer episode, there's a really long joke I would cut, or a really long sequence. In this one being the low speed chase.
Oh man, I love the low speed chase.
A joke that was hackneyed in like mid 90s.
Yeah.
The Simpsons did it.
I suppose.
They're very gradually getting away.
Yeah. But we talked about noir. Hank gets to the bottom of this mystery by dressing up like a film noir private eye. And as we've established before, because he so thoroughly believes in the power of costumes, he inhabits the role and he becomes competent in it. He gets confident. It's good.
Yeah, it changes the world around him, basically. Somewhat arbitrarily, they pair him up with the Alchemist, but it's a really good pairing. It's very fun. I'm always happy to have more Alchemist.
I just, again, the characters in this who are just kind of game to go along, like just here's Alchemist proving himself to be a good friend. It's like, I'm bored, but like, let's just kind of go into it. Let's put our back into it.
Yeah, they're all fun.
Yeah.
Billy playing along, everyone playing along. There's interesting production detail on this as well. This was originally going to be in the same episode as the next episode, Bright Lights, Dean City, as a How I Spent My Summer Vacation type of episode. But Jackson, who sounds so fucking depressed on the commentaries for the last couple episodes.
Yeah, he really does.
He's real down on himself.
It's coming. It's coming through. It's coming through. Yeah.
And this is after it's all done. He's doing the commentary. The episodes are out. He just sounds so sad.
Yeah, defeated. Really, he couldn't finish his half of the episode.
Yep, and he liked the stuff Doc was writing. He's like, "You're obviously having a ball with this. Just finish it. Just do this as a whole episode."
Yeah.
Doc had originally pitched this idea to Jackson before, as a film noir exploration of who Dermot's dad was. But they didn't ever end up doing it. So he decided to roll with it. Yeah. There's a really well observed bit in the commentary where he's like, whenever you try to sell something on someone, you really actually want to do it yourself.
Yep.
And he just decided to do it.
Yeah.
And this is full of a lot of detail from old detective movies.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm a sucker for that. Like film noir is one of those things where the stylistic pastiche just kind of got overdone. Of people who were genuinely affectionate of it were kind of doing it around this time, and like in the early 2010s or whatever. But like this is heartfelt and genuinely kind of in love with the language of those movies, both visual and verbal. And I think that this rings as genuine to me. And Hank delivering these lines and Alchemist's confusion around them is incredibly charming.
Yeah, I think that part's super charming. It doesn't feel very noir to me. It just feels black and white. and full of nonsense language. Like this feels a little bit like it doesn't feel like an homage so much as like just kind of grabbing a couple elements.
I mean, parts to a degree, it's got the femme fatale, and like the twist on this is it just strictly exactly pulled out of Chinatown. Yeah.
I think that what it made me realize is that's not the plots or the language that I like in noir. It's atmosphere.
Yeah.
Which is not something the Venture Brothers really trucks in, which is okay.
Yeah.
Like I don't really want it to. Like this is the Venture Brothers dressed up as noir, like Hank is dressing up as a detective. As opposed to something where I'm actually getting like whatever this is not what I like about noir.
Yeah.
It's not like Dark City is what I like about noir. Like I want that mood and foreboding kind of feeling to it.
Yeah.
The language I think is silly, and this episode thinks that as well.
Yes.
Which I like. I've never thought that sounded cool. I've always thought that it sounded ridiculous. And so does this episode, which I appreciate.
Yeah. They were afraid of this episode. It was a pretty big gamble in their minds, both because of that kind of gimmick, feeling like it might have been a little bit too shticky, but also going to reveal what happens at the end of this, kind of the reveal. It's built into Rusty's character that he inadvertently committed statutory rape.
Yeah. And we'll talk about that scene as well. That is a controversial scene and stuff like that. So they were real worried about this because it's pretty serious subject matter for the Venture Brothers. Yeah. And we'll get into Hank's reaction to all that stuff, all that and more as the episode continues. There was one major cut thing in this. Pete White was going to play along with Billy doing this and dress up as a newsie, this kind of shoeshine boy, under a bridge waiting for Hank to give him a clue, and Hank would never show up. Little cut bit that never happened. Didn't have room for it because I had to do conservatively 20 minutes of that slow speed chase.
I suppose.
I don't know. It's really bothered me. I watched this episode twice for the show because I watched it last week getting ahead. I watched it again earlier, and I'm just like, man, every doc episode, there's like a full minute I would cut because I don't think it's funny or good.
Yeah.
You know, it's real weird. The last episode, it was fine. Like there wasn't anything else I wanted instead. In this one, there was stuff I wanted instead.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
So let's get into it. Yeah. So Rusty is leaving Hank alone for a few days as he takes Dean to New York. Hank is not allowed to use the stove. When he makes his steakums, he's going to have to do them in the microwave, although that renders them inedible.
Like if we did the show 4 years ago, we'd have to explain what steakums were. Now they're social media darlings and everyone knows a steakum.
Yeah, that's because brands are your friends is the takeaway.
The shaved meat treat. They can't be beat. I've eaten a steakum in my day. My mom used to buy me steakums. They're weird.
I've never had a steakum, and I am sure that I eat plenty of revolting processed food, just basically it's country time. Nothing close to a lemon's ever been in it, but the steakum itself has always looked a little bit like dog food, like something for a dog to me.
It's more like it's got, there's distinct shapes. Like when I think of a dog food, I think of like a paste.
Okay.
Or like a gruel. These are definitely little strips of meat. It's more like a microwaved like beef jerky kind of experience. Like those wide, noodle beef jerkies.
Can I get something in a wide jerky?
Yeah. Dean doesn't want to go. He's embarrassed that he's wearing his dad's polyester suit. Showing up in New York dressed as the Jamaican flag. So he's heading to New York for his internship, where you get paid an experience and an impressive resume. And Hank says he's going to find a job, but he's definitely going to be making money. And he's not going to be working for the man.
Yeah.
Really weirdly, Rusty pulls when he's looking at his potential jobs, it's not like a notebook that Hank has. It's a want ads.
Yeah.
With all these things circled, and he's like, "Oh, I see you've already crossed out fire eater, traveling race car salesman, and gigolo," which makes me think, "What's up with these want ads?" They're published in the paper, huh?
Yeah, I didn't notice that detail. For a gigolo in Minecraft.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. The allure of the gigolo, the life of the gigolo, it kind of lost some of its shine for Hank when he found out it had nothing to do with gelato. So
yeah, which I love. Yeah, very cute. Dermot's hanging out, keeping him out of trouble.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a job. He claims he works as a ninjutsu instructor. But they call Hank calls him out. He actually wears the big padded suit for a rape prevention class. Very funny. Horrible job.
Yeah.
That would be.
He's just getting beat up for a living. Yeah. Oh gosh. Hatred hurries them along. He does not want to fly the X1 after dark because he gets confused between the headlights and the lasers, and he does not want to inadvertently blow anything up again. And they're going to be gone for 4 days. They're going to be staying the extra day because Hatred got Music Man tickets. Of all the shows you could see when you're in New York, watching the Music Man.
Very funny. This is a low-key great Hatred episode. Later when he becomes the hash, we're in the hash house and they're making eggs. I love that.
Yeah.
There's a delivery that it sounds like Jackson got kicked in the shin or something as he's giving it. It's really good. Rusty says, you have 4 days to get a job. And that's our little cut to the title screen.
Yeah.
We're cutting to the end of the summer. We cut past that when Rusty comes back. Basically, where Hatred is at Hank's job, which is HankCo Superworld, the HankCo Cafe within the HankCo Superworld, which I love. The menu on this thing's fucking incredible.
Oh, it's so good. Corn chip mountain, a quarter pound of corn chips slathered with hot American cheese, our chef's specialty.
I love the cheese plate, American cheese sliced the way you like it.
The way you like it is so good. Oh my gosh, what's the other one? Bread balls. We begin by hand rolling white bread into little balls and end by serving you them.
It's really funny.
There's just something about the wording of that. Just like by serving you them.
Yeah, really good. I also like that. I love Dermot being the waiter. For this, he's kind of being game. He's got a little bit of that adventure in him. Hatred says like, "What's a Pop Top?" And they shave the top part of the Pop Tart and it's served on a crumbled bed of the rest of the Pop Tart.
Yep.
It's really good.
It is so perfectly observed for like a little kid making his own restaurant based out of things that he can do himself. This is what you would cook if you couldn't use the stove, right?
And you were 11.
Yeah.
Like not if you were like 17.
Right. Right.
So Rusty is back and he's skeptical. This isn't what he had in his mind. And Hank is still just playing along. Like, you've seen our fine collection of remote controls. If you leave your address, we'll let you know when you get more in stock. He's just selling his dad's stuff back to him.
But he's smart. He's selling him the remotes, but he also has to buy his batteries separately. It took the batteries out. Oh my gosh. It's pretty good. Whenever somebody goes to a new counter, Hank has to go and like put on a new hat to serve them. As we see when Orpheus shows up ringing the bell, he needs to get his child support documents changed, and Hank is a notary.
Yeah, I love it. When they're talking about that, this is where Al reveals that his boyfriend kicked him out. He's now living with Orpheus. And Hank's like, "You see a lot in my line of work," which I really love. Again, just not me. I got a girl back home. When the Venture Brothers do that, I think it's very funny. Dermot is trying to get a hold of his sister because he can't get a hold of his mom, and he needs a ride.
Yeah.
So that's gonna set things up. Hank takes the case. He immediately says, "Oh, it's a missing person case." Pours himself some whiskey and puts on his hat, and everything goes black and white when he does this.
I love when he takes a drink of the quote unquote whiskey and goes smooth.
Yeah, it's apple juice.
Yeah,
which is very funny.
Oh my gosh! And he immediately leans in with the noir language. So what's the score? Badger game? Blow some cabbage on a dirty bangtail? Get dizzy on some Jasper's dame?
Yeah. Very very good. For this, this is where Dermot talks to him, and Hank's like, "Oh my glory!" Dermot is Brock's kid.
Yeah. So we need to find out if that is true. So this has gone from missing persons to paternity.
Yes. Yeah. The alchemist shows up and knocks on the wall. Hank has him in. He's talking about, there's nothing to do with, when you moved into Orpheus, he didn't tell him there's nothing open after 8:30. What are you doing? And he ends up joining. He's always wanted to be a girl Friday. So he's way into the noir thing as well. So he's going to join him on the fictal case here.
Yes. Yeah. So, Hank explains, yes, Dermot's mom came and picked him up. Like, that's not the case anymore. Dermot thinks that Brock is his dad. And Al also wonders, like, okay, well, does he also kill small animals? Like, is that the disturbing secret that you learned? Again, because Dermot is creepy.
Hank is like, I know, right?
Yeah,
like,
I thought so, too.
Also, some self-awareness when he has the hat on.
Yeah.
This is where my favorite micro joke in this. Al's like, why do you have a whip? He's like, came with the hat. It's a detective's whip.
It's a detective's whip.
Indiana Jones costume.
Yeah, that's where a kid would get a fedora, right? Mm-hmm. And Al is in on this out of boredom, but also like it's a juicy gossip kind of thing. Like we have to know,
Yeah.
And Nikki approaches. It is Dermot's attractive sister. Shows up saying like, hey, like where's my brother? And the sexy noir saxophone music comes in, and she's bummed out because he didn't tell her that he was leaving. She drove all this way out here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She asks what they're up to. Hank's like, scram doll, this is too dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
And she's just kind of amused by this.
Yeah.
Thanks for keeping Dermot out of trouble. And he's like, Dermot's a good kid. He'll apologize. Yeah. If he doesn't apologize to you, I'll make him get you flowers. Mm-hmm. And she says, Dermot's not going to apologize for anything. So why don't you stop by with the flowers? Yeah. And Al sees this power of the hat.
Yes.
Like, Hank, that was so smooth. Like, that's so unlike you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's like, I know, right? I've had a crush on Nikki forever. And this gets Al to commit further. I'm with you until we solve this case, or I get completely bored doing it, which is a real Master Shake kind of line. Yeah.
So we cut to Hank and Al driving on the highway. Al is in his pinstripe suit with a fedora. He also wears a little costume. They're hitting the dives in the flop houses, looking for info on Dermot's mom. So they're going to the strip club, etc. They're talking to homeless people under the bridge and stuff.
Yeah, no.
And he's doing his narration here. We have the kind of luck that turns a professional gambler into an amateur murderer. That's a great line.
Yep.
Your basic boob ain't too keen on dicks. And when a bum sees a dick coming, you don't stick around for the credits. And it cuts to them having the actual conversation with Brock and Shore Leave, and Shore Leave just loving the double entendres. It's like, what about a bum who doesn't like a dick coming? And I love Brock just like drop it.
Just like, no. He doesn't know what he's saying.
Don't corrupt this boy.
Yeah. So everybody that Hank talked to, you knew who Mrs. Fichtel was. Showed pictures, but nobody admitted to sleeping with her. And Brock, reacts like, geez, just definitely not my type. Are you sure that she said that I was, I was the dad? Like, this doesn't add up. This wouldn't that it doesn't make sense.
I've never been that drunk. I've never been that desperate.
Yes.
Shore Leave asks Al why he's staring at him, and Al's like, this is weird. Have we slept together before? Shore Leave's like, no. Would you like to? Immediately. And Hank says something like, stop eyeballing the swish or something like that. The Nance. Stop eyeballing the Nance.
Yeah.
And Brock, shuts it down. So nothing's adding up.
Yeah. Yeah. So over at the mall, Dermot's doing the old shoplifting trick of taking the trash out, but he has put video games in the trash bag and pocketing them before he throws it away. When the car rolls up, Al walks up, and Dermot starts to run, starting the low speed chase. With Dermot grabbing a shopping cart and kick riding it, while Al hops onto a rascal scooter to keep up.
Yeah, and I can be the outlier on this. I'm fine. I don't care if people who are listening agree or anything like that. I hate this scene.
I think it is well put. I like that it is well put together. Like, they actually made it look like a film noir chase kind of deal. Like when he goes over the speed bump and he just he gets air on it. The music sells this as well too. Like, the music in this is really good. All around. Music. But what's up?
It's authentic music. They took it from actual old noir movies.
Yeah, it's from it is from the Turner Library. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think stylistically, I think that this is well put together. I never thought it was like funny. It was just, there. You got to have a chase scene in a noir thing.
It just ends up feeling like a pacing killer to me.
Yeah.
Like he throws a baguette at him and it misses. It lands in his cart. doesn't really do anything. Dermot goes off a ramp and falls off.
Yeah.
Al walks up. He's like, immediately Dermot says they were going to throw those games away anyway. It's not shoplifting. And Al says, I'm not mal security. Hank walks up, and basically Dermot makes fun of him, says like, hey, you're just playing along with these kid games. And Al says, I was dumped and I'm bored here. And Hank is still playing the tough guy.
Yeah.
Like, you tell us the truth or Al is going to make your dentist a rich man. And Al is like, what? Oh yeah. Sorry.
Okay. I get it. Again, he's saying it's so stupid that it takes time to put it together. All right. Okay. So we're going to rearrange your teeth for you. Hank gets up into Dermot's face, insulted that Dermot would have lied about Brock is the sense that I get, like when you just, why would you go around slinging that kind of, that kind of foul lie? Dermot says, no, like that's literally just what my mom told me. I'm not lying to you. I'm just saying what I know.
Yeah. She gave me this. And it's a fob, like a key with the venture compound logo. The Al is like, hey, Hank, don't make me punch a kid. And then Dermot's like you really could. You look like Danny DeVito's Penguin. And he punches him really hard in the stomach, which I like because Dermot's a shit. Yeah. And the Alchemist is awesome.
Yep. So Hank tells Al to go get the boiler, which is the car. And when he takes off the hat, he apologizes. Everything goes back together. He's like, hey, I'm really sorry that I made you punch a kid. He apologized to Dermot, saying, I'm really sorry I made a grown-up punch you.
Yeah. And he's like, that's cool. I actually stole those video games, so I had it coming, trying to save face. Yeah. There. So Hank and Al return to the cafe. One of my low key favorite little bits of this, where Sergeant Hatred has taken it over.
Yep.
He's like, God, I tell you, it's always been my secret dream to run a hash house. We mostly serve eggs, scrambled and with ketchup. And he goes, Cup of Joe, make that too. And he goes, coming right up. His voice cracks.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. It's a really good little delivery.
Oh man. I love like everybody is inhabiting these new roles and they're like happy and good at it, like, yeah, I could see, Hatred before he just avoid the life with the OSI and just like either post up at a Denny's somewhere or like, start a small town diner, live a fulfilled life, cooking your scrambled eggs with ketchup.
Yeah. Just eggs, just ketchup. Watching it also, I'm not a man without stomach problems in general, but them talking when Billy says he's just been eating eggs with ketchup all morning, my stomach turned really hard at the thought of eating just tons of scrambled eggs with ketchup.
Yeah. I'm pretty good after 3 on scrambled eggs. That's like a max. Two is generally, what you want to do. Yeah. And
with ketchup.
Yeah, no ketchup. Salt and pepper, please.
Yeah. Or like onions or something. Like, so do a scramble. With just scrambled eggs with ketchup. Like even talking about right now is making my mouth water with like queasiness.
Sorry, so we can move on. But Hatred's found his duck. It is what he was born to do, albeit in a limited way and poorly. And Al makes fun of, so Billy's here. He's in disguise. He's got a hat on. He's been eating eggs all day. And he like whispers at them, trying to get their attention. He basically heard somebody's playing detective. I need to come along and get a piece of this. But he also knows something. He has info about Fictal, right? Al makes fun of him and says, don't ruin this for me, Al. Which is like, no, just we all have our opportunity to inhabit these roles. Just please don't throw water on it.
Yeah. Basically, he reveals that Nikki deals in antique toys and collectibles. When you can't get something and you got a fistful of hot cabbage, you dial Nikki Fictal. Is she a grifter? No, she's on the up and up, but that dame knows something. And he leaves a newspaper on the table. When Hank opens it up, he finds one of Nikki's cards.
Yes.
Hank is back in his office going over the evidence. He has a key to his own front door, supposedly from Dermot's mom, Nikki's business card. And he decides to go visit Nikki. Al is depressed in Orpheus's kitchen, waiting. This is like the next day. He's really distracted. And he's like, hey, I'm going to ask you a question, the bewitched question. And Orpheus goes, "Oh, you mean why didn't Samantha just make her and Darren rich?" And Al goes, "Well, yeah, but also, I'm really upset about this Dermot thing. One of my superpowers is I can always tell when people tell the truth. No one's lying, but the facts don't line up."
Yes. Yeah, this is this is just a real it is a real quandary. I could look into this. We could use our powers to, just cut right to the truth, but is that the right thing to do? And Orpheus needs to starts making sense, saying, it's not our choice whether to have these powers or not. We shouldn't be afraid to use them for good. There's no shame in that, right? And Al asks, like, "So are you saying what I think you're saying?" And he says, "Oh, I'd make Darren filthy rich, turn Mr. Tate into a donkey, tell Endora to get a life, and blind that nosy Mrs. Kravitz."
I figured you could translate that for me as a 30-year-old grandfather.
So in the television show Bewitched, Samantha is married to Darren. Darren is like an office worker, and he's got a boss named Mr. Tate, who's a real jerk, where uses him, just walks all over him, right? So turn Mr. Tate into a donkey. Andorra is Samantha's.
What's an Andorra?
Andorra is Samantha's mom, so it's Darren's mother-in-law. She looks down on Darren because she is really upset that her daughter married a non-witch, that she didn't marry a warlock. So
is Andorra also a witch?
Yes, Andorra is also a witch, and she's very kind of like uptight and conceited, and always playing like magical tricks on Darren, just basically abusing him because she sees him as lesser. And Mrs. Kravitz is the nosy neighbor who lives across the street, who is always watching. She's like the neighborhood gossip, watching and remarking to her husband Abner. Abner Kravitz, her name is Gladys, remarking about like, "Oh, like I saw stuff floating across the living room. Abner, always trying to basically snitch, convinced and knowing that Samantha is a witch, but nobody believes her because obviously witches aren't real, and so you would blind her, right?"
Can you believe that that's what people used to have instead of video games and the internet? Like the idea is just for like, I don't know how many episodes that probably got to syndication.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It's just, you married a witch. Nobody does anything about it. Mm-hmm. Give me 100 episodes. No drama, please. Like no change, no drama, no nothing. Just what if the neighbor accidentally saw a teapot float? And that's what we're dealing with this week.
Yep.
Just repulsive. And then they made another show about it where the genie also does the same thing.
And kind of, yeah.
It's pretty similar, man.
It's real similar, but there are notable differences. There's a certain there's a little bit less of a less keeping secrets around it. Let's say.
Does everyone know that the genie is a genie?
Certain people know that the genie is a genie.
God. I just I hate that so much. I hate old TV shows.
I know you do. I just at this point it's starting to sound like your problem and not mine. So
I think the world agrees with me. We moved on from this shit.
I know we moved on because that's how time and media work. Okay.
I know, but there's other things that are more timeless.
I know. Us. I understand.
Gunsmoke.
I know. Fucking Gunsmoke is so fucking boring.
I know. I think they're all equally boring. I was making a joke because I was pulling for a boring thing.
And also, not knowledge is my knowledge of this. Just that's what was on television. That's what was on Nickelodeon when I was trying to fall asleep, and I didn't really. What other options are there for a kid? It's
the reason why I ended up watching like 50 episodes of Coach.
Yeah,
because it was just on. After Star Trek Next Generation on. On TV.
Yeah. So my knowledge of this is not an endorsement, but it is it does help with general cultural awareness. And nobody's making these references anymore. It's not the currency, Yeah,
just this one. Mm-hmm. So Hank goes over to Dermot's trailer, the trailer where all three of them apparently live. Grabs a flower from the flower bed and gives it to Nikki. Who comes to the door in a slinky dress. Something that's not really remarked upon in this episode is Nikki is also being pretty gross.
Oh yeah, 100%.
There's two statutory rapes in this episode.
It depends. How do you gauge Hank's age in this? Because he's definitely sheltered and naive. She is taking advantage of him.
Yeah, he has the mind of a child.
He does. He's serving bread balls.
Yeah, he's serving bread balls. I think that this is not necessarily in the up and up. I'm not trying to equate the two crimes. It's just interesting that like Nikki Fickel having sex with, it reminds me of like when you get those stories of a teacher having sex with a kid.
Yeah.
And if it was a male teacher and a female kid, everyone freaked out. But then there'd be a bunch of jokers on the internet when it was a lady teacher who'd be like, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, my friends would high five me for being emotionally devastated by having a trusted adult abuse their power over me. Yeah,
yeah, it reminds me of that. Like, it's a celebration for Hank. And he may technically be 18.
Yeah,
but again, I think Hank is forever like 4.
Yeah. So yeah, she is definitely she is coming on to him here, and kind of has been, like, and just the fact that her that her brother, let's say, has an in with the Venture family must be a huge deal for her, right? She's probably had designs on this for a while, because Hank comes in and notices that the trailer here is full of Rusty Venture show memorabilia. She was a huge fan as a kid, and she kind of laughs and says, "Oh, you remind me of him, right?"
And Hank rejects this. He's like, no, Dean is the one who's like my old man. I'm the black sheep. I'm trouble. And she goes, no, you're not like him now. Like, your dad's a scared little has-been. You're like the old Rusty Venture, cool and powerful, but trapped in the body of a young man. Yeah. One real quick note: the Rusty Venture memorabilia here. It's mostly stuff left over from the museum, but they made a little Toy Fair magazine, which I used to collect.
Oh, nice.
So it's kind of nice to see. They were big Venture Brothers things. That's where I first saw Venture Brothers toys.
Oh, nice.
When they announced them on that.
Yeah.
So, he's like, it sounds like you're trying to seduce me. This old Seamus can smell it when a chippy's pulling a flim flam. What are you hiding? I really like when she tries to take off his hat and he goes, not the hat. He's scared because he knows it won't work.
Yep. All of this goes away if the hat goes. And she says, "Oh, I'm not hiding anything besides a huge crush on you." And Hank has had a crush on her, and they kiss. And as any film noir would, it pulls away.
Yeah. Orpheus and Al cast the spell to interrogate the Venture house key. Telemetry. There's a word for this when you're learning something about an object and its history.
Yeah.
To learn the truth, and we get this scene that is like genuinely really upsetting.
There are no jokes here. This is just drama that is played, and it is a very serious situation.
Both Nikki and Dermot's mom are played by Kate McKinnon before she kind of broke big, which is kind of cool. And I think this is a really emotionally complicated scene.
Yes.
When this came on the Slack, everyone was like condemning Dr. Venture, and I condemn Dr. Venture as well.
Yes.
I think that James Urbaniak's performance in this is genuinely sympathetic.
Yes.
Like, I think he comes across as really feeling, and like they say in the book, they confirm what I get from the scene, like he wants to do the right thing. Like, he's not trying to ditch this girl he got pregnant.
No,
like he cares about her. Like he calls her Nichols. Like, they have a pet name.
Yes.
And stuff. Like, he just, the mom is like, this you got her pregnant, you cannot raise a baby. She's 15 years old, and he says, like, did you expect me to cart her? She said she was 20. She came on to me and things got out of hand. I'm not proud of this. Yeah. And I think that James Urbaniak really sells it.
He really does. And the mother rightfully says, like, okay, so that may be the case. It is still like awful and small and abusive of you. Like, how hard must it have been to sleep with somebody who worships you? She's the president of your fan club, like, and he's making an appeal. Like, he wants to keep the lines of communication open. He wants to be involved. He tries to give her the house key. Like, come on, just this, let's not have it end this way. And the mom steps in. No, this is not going to happen. She rightfully, concludes that all Rusty will do is ruin her and, ruin the kid. And so, Rusty says, well, we've got to, let me support this. So, support the kid. She can't do this alone. I was like, oh no, we're going to sue you.
You're going to support the kid.
Yeah. You've got all this money. You're going to pay for everything about this, because if word gets out about you sleeping again with a literal child, that'll ruin you. So we're going to, keep this out of the courts, if it's good for you, and you're going to pay for everything. And the mom navigates this very well. and stands up. She is not this monster. She has stood up and done the right thing here.
Yeah,
is my reckon on it, but it is not. It has contours to it that are helped by the performance.
Yeah, it's slightly more complicated.
Yeah,
than it initially seems, I think.
Yeah.
Like I am not into sex for children.
No.
I hope that should be obvious. I hate that as a trope. This is a really realistic, I think, kind of emotional portrayal of an accidental version of that. Mm-hmm. Like where I try to put myself in the same shoes. I'm very lucky in that I am attracted to people who are my age.
Yeah.
Roughly.
Peers.
Yeah, peers. I do not find young women attractive. I see a 20-year-old woman, I'm like, scary. It doesn't do anything to my ding dong. If I were Rusty Venture and just sucked total ass and was way into, or like 70% of the dudes on the planet, who are way into 18-year-old hard bodies, and somebody who looked like they had a fully developed body and told me they were 20, what would I do? Would in that like when he says like, what was I supposed to check her ID? Like what would you do? Yeah.
Like, well, you should have extracted yourself from the situation because of the power dynamic.
Because the fan, that's the big thing. Yeah. Putting myself in a situation where that wasn't the case.
I mean, it's horrible. Like to learn that is not like something you wanted to do.
Yeah. It's not something you went in. You had false knowledge of it. You didn't know what it was. And Rusty, the way that they humanize him in the series, I think, is that he, his ego is his like tragic flaw here. But him, the idea that I can see the idea of Nikki being in the fan club, like those power dynamics are never going to occur to Rusty.
No.
This is just somebody who's into Rusty because he's full of extra greatness. She sees in him what he sees in himself, finally. And I have some sympathy. I have sympathy for everyone involved in this.
Yeah.
It's even Hank, as mentioned, I think it's weird that Hank got taken advantage of.
I mean, just like almost as weird, retaliation, against Rusty, who Nikki obviously has nothing but disdain for. She calls him a scared little has-been, right? And, she hasn't been like hanging out with him to know that. He was a scared little has-been when she slept with him, right? Yeah. She saw the truth of it, eventually.
Well, after this, like during this scene, she really wants to.
Oh, she's sobbing,
Yeah, she's sobbing, and it's real sounding. They talk about it in the book or in the commentary how it's like genuinely really unnerving. Like Kate McKinnon's really crying. Like it sells an emotionality to it. Like this is my favorite scene in the episode. Yeah, an episode I think is kind of light on laughs. And it's because it is really emotionally nuanced, I think. Yeah. More so than Chinatown. Like, when she takes off, which I don't have an emotional attachment to any of those characters. Like, I don't care about the people in Chinatown. They're just there to look cool, and say cool things. Like, that's it. Like, that is the worst thing that noir can be to me is just people acting artificial and cool. Yeah. But there's no heart to it at all. Like, I don't feel like there's any heart to Casablanca. Yeah. I watched that and it's a cold movie to me. Yeah. It's extremely sterile.
I could defend Chinatown, but I won't.
Yeah. I've seen Chinatown a bunch of times. I took a noir class, like in college, we watched it and stuff. I just don't, I do not find that to be a movie with a heart. Yeah. And that is something that I need in media to emotionally connect with it. Something can get my brain. But if you want to get my heart, you need to have stuff like this. Yeah.
This is sold really well by performances on all counts. James Urbaniak and Kate McKinnon do a really good job, and I can almost forgive her for Hillary singing Hallelujah.
I can't.
Nope.
I was going to say that this is really good.
I said almost.
Yeah, I was going to continue and say but it's a shame that she dressed up as Hillary Clinton to sing Hallelujah.
Yeah, no, she's
Saturday Night Live helped get Trump elected, and
she's a CIA plant. I am absolutely sure now. I'm halfway joking on that. But we make reference to Chinatown, a big spoiler for this thing that everybody knows. Basically the idea here is is the same. The person who we thought was somebody's sister is actually their mother,
daughter.
Right?
Yeah. Also an ecstatic spoiler. Weirdly enough, it's a trope.
Yeah, it's a trope here because Mrs. Fichtel, who is actually Dermot's grandmother, for appearances said, we're gonna raise the baby. I'll raise the baby. We'll say it's mine. We'll keep the secret. We will make this work. This family is going to stay together, and we're going to get through. And Nikki obviously isn't over it, right? She sleeps with Hank. We're going to find that out here. He's going to come by and admit it, and she is still collecting the Rusty Venture materials and stuff. So there is a certain amount of moving past this, but she's making her living off of the Rusty Venture show, right?
Yeah,
and also sleeping with his son because he reminds her of the ideal version of him. So there are long lasting effects for this. Yeah.
Yeah, not the most gross thing, but also gross.
Yes.
The thing, one of the ways in this episode doesn't sell me emotionally is how everyone is so immediately and viscerally to the point of vomiting, repulsed by the idea of this. Mm-hmm. I think it's wrong and weird that this happened to Hank, but the idea of having sex with somebody who your dad had sex with, it's weird that it gives this everyone has this reaction.
Yeah, everybody. Right? Yeah,
it's treated like incest. Mm-hmm. It's the kind of reaction that you'd have if you accidentally had sex with your sister or something.
Yeah, I think that I think that it is. I don't know. I think that if I was defending it, I would say the reaction is okay, it's not that he's sleeping with somebody that his dad slept with. He is sleeping with the mother of his half brother. There is something there is something wrong about that.
Yeah, I can kind of see it. Mm-hmm. It just the reaction is I can see Hank having the reaction more than everyone else being I need to wash my brain. I wish I never knew that. Yeah, all of these people have dealt with way worse shit than this. On the regular, the reaction doesn't read as earned from anybody other than Hank to me.
Yeah.
So Al comes to Hank, gives him the house key, saying he's off the case. Hank's all disheveled. Al's like, well, what did Nikki say to you? And he's like, say nothing, but she did things to me that I didn't think were possible. That looker ran me through the yard and lammed off with my ticker. Fucked him. And Al's like, God damn it, take off the hat and talk normal. And Hank's like, I had sex. He's really excited.
Mm-hmm. I had sex with a woman and nothing is going to be the same because of sex.
He grabs the key and there's still spell energy in it.
Yeah, he didn't discharge it.
Gets to see a little fast forward of the scene.
Yeah, he gets all of that, and it's a terrible realization. He just immediately oh gosh, and Al apologizes to him. Hank needs to vomit, and Al hands him the fedora. I love the line. I'm pretty sure that started all of this, so it deserves it.
So Hank's gonna get his memory wiped.
Yep.
He needs to not know this. He's like, hey, can I keep this memory of having sex? And Shirley was like, no, you can't pick and choose. Is choose how far back.
Yeah, it's like a neuralizer. Yeah.
Yeah. Brock says no, there's just some things people aren't meant to know about themselves. And Al is like, well, I guess I'll have to do it because I've seen the Sphinx stuff. And Jorah's like, nuh-uh, this is the second time you've seen the Sphinx HQ. He's like, what? You mean you and me? Yeah. What happened? Oh, you got a little possessive. I mean, you dumped your boyfriend and tried to move in with me. So Al never actually, his boyfriend did not dump him. He just thinks that.
Yep.
Which is fascinating.
Yep.
Mind crimes.
Yeah. Revealing and also why would you wipe it's pretty cruel of Shirley to do that to a person because they got a little clingy.
I think the weird thing about part of the reason why this episode clings on me is that the pregnancy reveal scene is so real and mature that when we go back into Venture Brothers zone, I'm judging everything by the morals of that scene's set.
Right.
Right. I can't help but see monsterism everywhere now. Because they did a really realistic, no jokes allowed drama monsterism scene. And now I'm like, yeah, that does suck that Shirley fucking did that.
Yeah. No.
Oh, shit. It sucks they did it to the boys. Erasing somebody's memory like that is a horrible violation. Mm-hmm. That's how you get Dark Phoenixes.
Yeah. And also look what it's done to Billy,
Yeah. Billy's had a horrible tragic life because of this shit. Mm-hmm. And it's these characters who I really like or love that are doing it, who are perpetrating it.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't line up with what we know about Shore Leave, right?
No, who's a solid bro.
Yeah.
You know, it ends up making me feel morally weird about the episode, and not in ways that it wants me to.
Right.
Like, I think that the idea is you're just supposed to come away from this like, oh man, Doc's pathetic. You know, that's, and it's like, yeah, Doc is pathetic. Also, all these people are fucking monsters, you know, when they're held up against this kind of light.
Yeah. Yeah. And I, you know, they're monsters, and it makes me feel bad for saying that I really like them. You know, or, you know, like them based on past behavior, let's say.
You can kind of see why they were so worried about this episode.
Yeah.
That unlocks it for me, thinking about why they were worried with this episode, because it does cast a different impression on things for me. Like it's almost like Streisand affects all the monstertude that's been happening.
Right. It's a different light that shines on everything around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hank makes one last request. We're going to find out what that is. Brock starts the machine. He goes, you know, I got laid. He's very happy. And we get a great Patrick Warburton. You sure did, Hank. But the last request was to give him a video message to himself.
Yes.
You know, I knew you'd watch this because I label it Dean Faceplant.
And I love how it turns into a conversation between past Hank and present Hank. And he was like, oh yeah, I labeled the Dean Faceplant. Present Hank says, oh, that's a great idea. And past Hank says, thanks.
Yeah. He knows.
So so you trust me because I'm you and you're me. Right. And you need to know, like, what you need to understand is, like, you lost your virginity. You can't know anything about it, but you have to keep that. All right.
Yeah.
And then he does something that would be it'd be impossible to resist the temptation in this exact situation, to say, oh, one last thing, and then to lean into the camera and say, get your ass to Mars.
Yeah, I love that so much. Even though so that's Total Recall is what that's referencing. Except one of the things I love about Arnold Schwarzenegger is how he's a horrible actor who can't deliver anything like a person. So I love the movie Total Recall. I've watched it dozens of times. When he says it, he's trying to add all his gravitas, but he's still like, yo, get you as the mouth. Like he still adds no consonants to it. Like it sounds like a mummy like dying or something. Get you as the mouse. Get you as the mouse. And then they make it loop. It's so good.
Movie rules.
I love this. This Dean walks in, he's covered in soot. And Hank's like, how'd your summer go? He's, well, I may have seen my dreams of being a super scientist go up in flames, but I may have pulled my real dream out of the ashes. I love Dean.
Yep.
And he says, he has dad around. He left New York without saying goodbye. And I love this ending as well. It's such a fuck you. The portal opens with a version of Rusty with hair, who's like very strong with a question mark next to him. Dun, dun, dun. That's it.
And we're going to see what happened to Hank, or to Dean, why he's covered in soot. Yeah. This I like this episode a lot for like the lore stuff it does, despite, you know, the little nitpicks I have. It ends up being, I think that, like, when it comes to Venture Heart stuff, a companion piece to this that is also lore, but I think has more emotional cleanness, I guess, is the Halloween special. Yeah. Like Dean's reaction to finding out about the clones in the Potter's Field and like the tons of corpses buried there and stuff. I think that feels more, it is also a high level existential hurt. Yes.
And reaction that feels more in line with the show. To me.
Yeah.
I like it a little bit more.
I agree with you, while still being generally warmer on the episode, on the episode itself. It's funny, right? Because I think that, like, the conversation about what happens with Hank here is a little bit confused. Like, I don't think that it's a problem that Hank loses his virginity, you know? Like, yes, he is sheltered. Yes, he is childlike, but even sheltered childlike people need to go through the milestones of growing up, right? They've graduated high school. Part of this season, and, you know, in general, and it's going to lean into this further, is them, you know, stopping being the, you know, the boy adventurers, being the kids, and, you know, learning how to be people. You know, people in a world that is, you know, colliding with the real world, right? Their own little, like, warped version in the game, as well. I think that, you know, I would not get rid of that aspect of it. I think that element is fine. It is the weird, like, you know, power dynamic thing that goes on that really like complicates it for most people.
I want Hank to lose his virginity. I don't want it to be with somebody who sees him as his dad's TV counterpart.
Yeah.
You know, like the circumstances around it gross me out.
Yeah.
I am protective of the boys.
I am protective of the boys.
You know, yeah.
I don't want bad things to happen to them.
Yeah. I don't want bad things to happen to them. I don't want people to take advantage of them because they're baby.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're exceedingly baby.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they must be protected at all cost.
Yeah.
So,
you know,
and they're the only innocent characters on the show.
They really are.
Like, sincerely, like everyone's kind of a piece of trash. Objectively, even when I love them, like everyone is morally suspect except for the boys.
Yeah.
You know, so when something like this happens to one of the boys, it does feel a little bit queasy to me.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a good episode and I don't want to make it sound like I don't like it. Like, I think you're a little warmer than I am. I'm still like, this is a B, this is above average. You know, this is good.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel 100% clean to me, I guess.
Yeah. Something that is coming around on me, to a certain degree, is that I've always been a Dean man. You know, when it comes between them, I like his conflictedness on this watch, and especially talking through it. I'm all in on Hank.
You're switching your Hank build.
Yeah, I'm Hank pilled. I love any of the magic, anything that has him kind of like living up to that season 1 line of, you know, it's like it's like you're, you know, dead crazy people talk to you.
Yeah, channeling.
You know?
Yeah, great. I kind of went the opposite on this watch though.
Oh yeah? Huh.
I'm kind of more Hank, partly because I'm appreciating the voice performance more.
Or more Dean?
Yeah, of Dean. Yeah, we're switching more Dean. Like that, the earnestness is very sweet. And then when we get into season 6 and 7, Hank gets a lot of stuff to do. Dean doesn't, because Dean tries to quit.
Yes.
It's like the realization of the like what Rusty thinks Hank is.
Yes.
You know, Dean actually wants no part of that. I relate really hard. There's an episode in season 7 or 6, I think, where Dean's going to college classes and his teacher is the son of a supervillain. Whichever episode that is. I have a lot of affection for him in that episode, like not being able to escape this shit.
Yeah.
And trying his hardest. And I think that season 7, which is like very, very Hank, like Dean's barely in that. I'm really happy we're getting a movie because I think they would have followed up on Dean stuff.
Yeah.
During the next season. And I want to see that. I want to see both characters have their completion, you know, have their kind of climax.
Yeah.
Hank is still funnier. Like Hank deliveries are incredible. You know, he's just, I guess maybe it's just that he's less baby. Is it my biological clock ticking? Is this me saying that I want to give birth to a baby Dean?
I mean, I think I think what you're saying is you just give birth to a to a 17-year-old Dean who is really conflicted about his circumstances.
I'm just going to rename Pocket Dean, and that'll basically fix everything that's mixed up in front and side. Yeah. Little Hank and Dean instead of Jessica and Pocket.
Oh, man.
Good stuff. Next episode, we have a guest. We're going to be joined by Gwen Static, composer of our excellent theme song and personal friend of the show. Yep. She's going to join us to talk about Bright Lights, Dean City, which has my favorite musical moment in the series. That is, I love that song so much.
Looking forward to it. If you would like to support this show on the network, you can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv and kick us a couple of bucks a month. You get cool extra content and you help your boys.
Indeed. And you want to help your boys. Yeah. And you can also leave us ratings, reviews on Apple Podcasts or Podcast Addict, and tell your friends.
Please do.
And until next time,
go Team Venture.